friends, and welcome back to Ghouls Night In, the spooky chat show with your best ghoul friends. I'm Penny Snark.
And I'm Midge Munster.
I have a little bit of a precursor
Okay.
to this episode. So, as those of you who follow me on Instagram know, I celebrated my birthday a little early this year. Since
Hey.
actually, as you listen to it, my birthday was yesterday, and I
Woo-woo.
was flying home
Happy
from Midsummer
birthday.
Scream. Hopefully that all went smoothly. Good luck,
Yeah.
future me.
Good luck, future Penny.
Um, but for my birthday this year, my dear bestie Caitlin threw me a summer ween Halloween birthday party. And you may recall that Caitlin made a custom trivia game for the Ghouls Night In show, and she made another trivia for my birthday party.
Trivia Queen.
Trivia Queen. One of the rounds was a true false round about things that I was afraid of as a child. So I was super roasted all night. So in a fond rebuttal, I would like to talk about something that Caitlin is afraid of today,
Amazing.
and that is sharks.
Sharks.
Sharks!
I'm literally, my calendar is next to my computer and there's just a huge picture of a shark above this computer as we speak. So I'm ready.
Hey,
I'm in the zone.
keep an eye on that guy as we
Yeah.
talk about this.
Dang it.
All right. So the fear of sharks is called galleophobia. And unlike some of the fears that we have talked about on this show previously, this is a recognized phobia in the DSM-5.
Hmm.
So it's an official phobia.
Unofficial?
Official. So obviously, to truly be diagnosed with a phobia, it needs to be something that impacts your everyday life. So there are no statistics about how many people are like officially diagnosed as phobic of sharks. But 51% of American adults say that they are, quote, absolutely terrified of sharks. So it is
51?
51.
Wow.
So it's a common fear. And what do you think of sharks, Midge? Since you have one on your calendar, I'm guessing you're not absolutely terrified of them.
No, I mean, would I want to encounter one unexpectedly? No,
Yeah,
but I feel that way about most wild animals.
indeed.
Yeah, no, I think they're fascinating and really cool. I would get in one of those cages and
Ooh,
look at them. I'm not I like I'm not I'm at that level of not afraid that
all right.
I would go up close and personal as long as there was some uh facade of safety.
Yeah, all right. I would say then that you are slightly less afraid of sharks than me.
Mhm.
Um I would say that like I'm not afraid of sharks, but I'm, not afraid of sharks like
Yeah.
any large predator. And as my our listeners know, I do have a general deep water fear which like
Right,
isn't
ads.
isn't due to sharks, but it doesn't like exclude the presence of sharks.
They certainly don't help the process.
No. And it is interesting, like, I am scared of, like, fictional predatory water things more than sharks, in Jurassic World, like, the big, like, sea
Oh,
dinosaur thing, that thing
dinosaur
scares
fish,
me a lot.
yeah.
And I find that way more scary than sharks, but I literally have in my notes, I would not wanna get in a shark cage. So I
Okay.
love that you
And
specifically
I
called that
specifically
out.
said, "I will."
So yeah, so I'm not like terrified of them, but I feel like I have a healthy respect for a predatory creature.
I think, what that really is that I think I have a deep well of stupidity that you do not you do not, have in yourself. You have a lot of logic where I have, like, mysticism and, like, excitement. I'm like, "Sure, I'll try anything once."
You're like, yeah, me and these sharks are gonna get along.
I'm like, "It's fine, I see auras, I'll be able to tell if it's angry."
Oh man. All right. So I mentioned dinosaurs right now, and my first fun fact about sharks is that they actually predate dinosaurs. The first fossil record of a shark dates back 400 million years.
I'm now
So they have
slightly more afraid of sharks just now.
they're old. They're old as fuck, boy. So sharks have been here for a long time. There are over 500 species of sharks, and they range in size from 8 inches to 40 feet long. So you've got a huge variety. I will tell you that the smallest shark is the dwarf lantern shark.
Yeah,
He's the size of your palm, just a little guy.
just a little guy.
He is called a lantern shark because he does light up. His tummy glows in the dark.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna warn all of our listeners that this is probably sounding pretty cute when I describe it, but he is kind of a homely little dude. So Google at your own risk. He is less scary than the other lantern sharks. Like I was in a lantern shark article and some of them are real nasty looking.
Yeah,
But
but
this guy's just kind of like
he's
a
just
little dude.
small. Yeah.
He's a little dude. The biggest shark is the whale shark. And whale sharks are great because they are extremely big, but they only eat plankton, so they only eat very tiny things. And they are generally really chill, which of course means there's a huge problem with
Right.
unethical tourism. Diving with them, they get hit by speedboats. Spoiler alert for the real monster of this episode, it's always
It's
people.
people. Surprise.
So, with over 500 species of sharks, obviously there's a big variety there, but they do have some things that they all have in common. Um, so, sharks have soft skeletons that are made of cartilage instead of bone. Um, so, sharks are in the same family of fish that includes like manta rays and stingrays because they are all cartilagey. Midge, have you ever pet a shark?
I believe that I have, yes. Uh,
Mm,
I know I've pet, like, stingrays and things, and I believe I pet a small boy,
yes.
at an aquarium in either California or Florida.
Yeah,
They're
me
very
too.
slick.
Yes, they're very smooth
Smooth.
and you can definitely feel the cartilaginess. Yeah, I think I've pet a nurse shark was the type of shark
That
that was in
seems familiar,
yeah,
yeah.
was also in like a tank with like stingrays and stuff,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
They're just squishable, and you could tickle them.
Yeah,
Just
give him a little tickle.
advice from Ghouls Night In, tickle a shark, see what
Tickle a shark.
happens.
Give it a go. Um, Sharks all have fins that allow them to steer and navigate through the water. Sharks cannot swim backwards, which I think might be true of all fish, just because, like, if they move backwards, it would be pushing water into their gills, so they would
Mm,
die.
sure.
Um, but I love this. So I got a lot of my information from the Monterey Bay Aquarium
Hell
website,
yeah.
and they were talking about
That's
how,
where I pet the shark. But
yeah,
as
there
soon
you
as you said
go.
that, I was like, it was somewhere and like, yep, that's where I
There
was.
you go. That sharks like can maneuver really quickly, and their description was, "You never have to go into reverse if you can do a real sharp U-turn."
I was
And I
gonna
was
say,
like,
so
"Good."
swimming behind one wouldn't do me any good to protect
No,
myself.
they're just gonna whip around and be like, "Ah, surprise."
Surprise.
All sharks have teeth that fall out and regrow throughout the course of their lives. So I think many of us, I don't know if this is exclusive to like 90s and early 2000s, getting like
Oh, the shark
shark
tooth
teeth
necklace.
necklaces and stuff, because they just fall out. So they wash up
Yeah.
on shore. You can pick them up. And the having like teeth that continuously fall out and regrow is called revolver dentition, which I think would be a cool band name.
Band name, yeah.
Yes,
Good band name.
good band name. Sharks have 5 to 7 gills. I don't
Oh,
know if that's like an important distinction in marine life, if there's like a good number, if
yeah.
like most fish have fewer or more than that. I didn't look into it.
That seems like a lot in my head. I feel
It
like most fish
does,
have, like, 2 gills.
right? It seems like a lot of gills.
I mean, they're a
So
big fish, though, so I guess that makes sense.
it's true. You may have heard that sharks can never stop swimming because if they do, they'll stop breathing, which I have heard, and I have used this as a metaphor for ADHD before, where I just say that my brain is like a shark and it has to keep moving all
Yeah,
the
or
time.
we'll drown, exactly.
Uh-huh. But this is actually not true for most sharks.
Okay.
So the majority of sharks have muscles in their cheeks that let them pump the water through their gills via their mouth, so they can stop moving. However, it is true that the great white shark is one of those types of sharks that don't have that ability, so they do have to move always to breathe.
Man, where are they getting the energy reserves to just swim like that forever? That's a lot.
Right. But I mean, I feel like if you like look at a shark, they're like just kind of drifting. So I don't think they have to move
Sure, just barely
fast to
wiggling.
do it. But they're just kind of constantly vibing. Um,
Also,
so
as a quick,
yeah.
insertion here, apparently the majority of fish have 5 pairs of gills,
Okay. Good to
which
know.
is
Thank you for fish checking
yeah,
during this
it's
episode.
that's a fish fact with Midge Munster.
Fish facts with Midge. Almost all sharks live in seawater. There are a handful, like I think I said there were like 3 species that live in freshwater. So out of over 500, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But a fun shark fact, bull sharks live in the ocean, but they can also travel up freshwater rivers, which makes them the only known marine species that can survive prolonged exposure to fresh water.
Hmm.
And like they'll like live in the ocean and then like swim up a river to have their baby. And like they assume this because it's probably more chill there.
Yeah,
So that's
sure.
pretty wild.
Nice. Good job,
Pretty
bull shark.
crazy. Scientists believe that sharks are all might all be colorblind. I feel like I don't know if it's just because we don't know. Like, I mean, you've never asked a shark whether they can see color, I guess. But
Excuse me, Mr. Shark. Do you have a
what do you
moment?
see? I guess every shark that they've looked at only has one type of cone in its
Mm.
eye, and that is what generally allows things to see various colors. So they might just see things in one color. Sharks do have extremely good sense of smell, but it is a myth that they can smell a drop of blood from a mile away, which I feel like once you say that, you're like, yeah, how would one even test that? Like,
Just
it
standing on the dock and bloop, one drop.
definitely feels a
Wait.
little bit of a poetic
Yeah.
statement. But they do have special pores on their heads that let them sense electrical fields. Like they can sense a heartbeat of an animal under sand, which is
Whoa, that's
pretty
lit.
goth and spooky.
Yeah, that's super cool.
All right, so now we've learned a bunch of fun facts about sharks. We know them a little bit better. So why are people afraid of sharks? Um, the primary reason is that a lot of sharks are big predators with lots of scary teeth.
Jeeves, yeah.
So they can get their teeth in there, but getting bitten by a shark is actually extremely rare. You are more likely to be struck by lightning or be hit and killed by a coconut falling on you than even being bitten by a shark. And most shark bites are not fatal. So one thing I do love finding like the weird like things that people in a certain circle like know and like talk about the terminology. I
Sure.
found out that they the shark community kind of frowns on the term shark attack
Mm,
um because it implies that the shark like purposefully attacked a
like
person.
sought out a person to
Yeah.
bite, sure.
And so, in reality, it appears that the vast majority of sharks don't see humans as food at all. So, kind of the way that I saw this was described is that lots of sharks just kind of experience the world through their mouth and they just go around biting things to be like, can I eat this?
Is this
And
good?
is this good? And then they decide whether or not they want to eat it. And a lot of times they bite a person and then swim away because they're like, nah, I don't want
Nah,
to
that
eat
ain't
that.
it.
But of course, they have those many teeth. So even just one bite can be extremely dangerous for a
Sure.
person. Um, and there's also a theory that like sharks in shallow water, obviously like just kind of instinctively snap at like thrashing fish and mistake like people's like legs moving around in the water
Yeah, that's
as
always
a
been my
fish.
understanding is that like the splashy nature of swimming on like a
Mm-hmm.
beach or something and can attract just because they're like, oh, fish,
Fish.
yum, all you
Fish.
can eat fish buffet.
Yes. So they do tend to limit the phrase shark attack to an experience where there is like multiple bites, and it does appear that the shark is actively trying to like eat the predate, as they say, this person.
Hmm.
Um, I do want to say this. I don't. this probably isn't funny to anyone else, but there is a Wikipedia page for shark attacks specifically that I kind
Mhm.
of like scrolled through, and they have a little centered segment that's like a rogues gallery, that's labeled the three most commonly involved sharks, like the usual suspects,
The
and I
usual
just thought that
suspects.
was extremely funny. So
Like, you
these are
gotta
the
be careful about Brian.
yes. For types of sharks that are most likely to be involved in fatal, unprovoked attacks. And these are great white sharks, tiger sharks, and bull sharks. So they do, researchers divide bites into provoked and unprovoked bites, which sounds a little bit funny because you're like, you provoking the shark. But I did also find out that like shark bite statistics include people who like got bit while they were trying to like spear a shark,
Oh,
so I
well,
feel like that's not the shark's fault. So
certainly not.
it does make sense to separate those so that you have a difference between people who were just like hanging out and a shark showed up and was like chomp, and people who were like fishing a shark.
Human attacks, yeah.
Mhm. So the majority of shark bites happen in the United States, and the majority of those happen in Florida.
Florida, I knew it.
So
I knew it was gonna be
maybe
Florida.
stay out of those waters there, specifically. But yeah, shark bites, like they have they kind of go up and down, but it's like a high number is like there's around 80 every year. I think last year there was like 50. So it's an extremely small number, and obviously, as we'll kind of talk about, we see a lot of media coverage of these very rare occurrences that make it seem a lot more like of a pressing issue.
I will say that number is higher than I anticipated, actually.
Yeah,
I was thinking more in the, like, 20 to 25 range. That's more than I would think. That's kinda surprising.
yeah. But that does include any bite, even ones where people like don't require medical attention.
Sure.
So like there are sometimes like a shark nipped my ankle, and that counts as a shark
Yeah,
bite.
right.
Um, but so obviously, as we're talking about this, like sharks will bite you. So it's not silly to be afraid of that. But we also definitely exacerbate this fear. So considering the fact that there are often 70 or fewer shark bites in a year, there have been over 70 films about killer sharks in the world, which is a high number
It
for
is.
comparatively. And of course, we have to talk about Jaws, which has had such a huge impact on the fear of sharks. The scientists call the fear of sharks attacking humans the Jaws effect. Um, and a lot of people who have like no reason to be particularly afraid of sharks because they don't live somewhere where sharks are,
Right.
cite Jaws as being the source of their fear. And the author of the book, Peter Benchley, and Steven Spielberg, of course, the director of the film, have both said that they regret the negative impact that Jaws has had on how humans and sharks interact, because it really did kind
Yeah.
of give this, and just like I mean, it's a really good movie. It's an awesome movie, but like this idea of like a shark as like a dedicated predator that's going to like try to like purposefully attack and
Eat your
continually
children, right?
attack you, where it's like it's an animal like anything else, and like
Also, I'm gonna go on record as saying, so I saw Jaws for the first time years and years and years and years ago, like maybe in high school, and it was at
Mhm.
like a party where no one was really watching the movie, you know?
Yeah,
So I went to see Jaws just a couple weeks ago. They showed it at a theater in Lawrence, and I went with some friends. It was very fun. We wore shark attire, and I made
excellent.
gift bags with shark gummies and shark straws. It was great. But that was the first time I'd really like sat and watched that movie. Yes, very cool, like well made film. Just like the practical effects and things are very
Yeah.
cool. B, I spent that entire film being Team Shark.
Yeah.
Like, that's a movie about white men being stupid. Like,
Very
that's what
true.
that is. Literally, the number of times people were like, "Oh, someone died? Well, probably won't happen again." Like, and I know
Right.
that's the nature of, like, suspense and horror films, but nothing about that film made me afraid of the shark other than just yeah, it killed, but because people were being stupid.
Right? Like, "Ooh, maybe
Except for,
we
like,
could
very
stay
first
out of the
person.
water."
Yeah, like, the very first girl that dies, I feel like that wasn't on her, but after that, I'm like, "This was all on this, like, stupid mayor who won't listen to anybody, and this, like, crazy ship captain." Like, the
I agree. Justice for Jaws.
Yeah, well, apparently, I didn't know this, my friend Nina told me this, apparently there's a Jaws 2 that's basically like Friday the 13th, where, like, the mother of Jaws comes back for revenge. So I will be watching that sometime in the near future because that sounds amazing.
I remember hearing of Jaws 3D and how terrible it was, but I didn't
Oh yeah.
actually know the plot line of any subsequent Jaws films.
Team Shark, that's all I'm saying.
Team Shark. And in our modern day, we have Shark Week on Discovery
Yeah.
Channel, which has it's. I feel like it's very much a mixed bag. Like there's
Right, it's
some
like half
good
educational.
stuff. Yeah, I would say the article I read, researchers say that it maximizes drama over scientific accuracy,
Yeah.
which is the way of things in the TV world. But definitely like puts prominence on kind of the more sensational parts of shark life, I guess.
Shark Life. It's like their version of the Kardashians, they're only
It
showing them,
is.
like,
Oh
at
my
their
god,
worst moments.
it is. These
The
sharks are all
shark
like,
sitting at
oh.
home being like, "Oh, I got the villain edit. Damn producers."
Right, it's like they only ever talk about the sharks that leap out of the water and bite helicopters, and never any of us who are just hanging out being 8 inches long. Uh, so as we have indicated throughout this episode, humans are a much bigger threat to sharks than sharks are to us. So of the 500 species of shark, there are 74 that are considered near extinction, and
Oh,
210 species that we just don't know enough about to like determine if they're endangered because they're so like rare and they're out in the ocean where we can't see them. Uh, so the biggest issues are overfishing for shark fins and shark meat, which are considered delicacies, and you can get a lot of money for those, as well as bycatching, which I learned another a fun term. And so that is what they call it when something gets caught in a net that was like meant for another kind of fish.
oh,
So like
sure.
fishermen will
Fishing
have out
boats.
their regular nets and sharks will get caught, and a lot of times they're just killed and discarded when they're caught like
Oh,
this. And there's also just not a lot of regulation around fishing sharks, which I think is tied to kind of this larger fear of them. So, like a lot of
sharks. People are
places that
like, "Yeah,
have,
get rid of
Mhm.
them."
Yeah, like places will have laws about overfishing, but they don't apply to sharks. So
Oh,
people aren't getting in trouble for any of those things. And as we saw in the movie Jaws, there are also instances of purposeful shark culling and just killing a bunch of sharks in an area out of fear they could attack somebody, and that's not cool because the ocean is where they live. That's
yeah.
their home. So you should probably just let them chill. So in conclusion, sharks are mostly just doing their own thing. There's a lot of them. There are some usual suspects who might try and take a chomp out of you, but the best thing you can do is be aware, avoid them. There are like a lot of tips about like avoiding like areas that have bait fish and things that sharks want to eat and are likely to be
Sure.
chomping. But just in general, just kind of watch out for the sharks and let them drift around, making their U-turns and being happy in the sea.
Let them be. The sharks didn't do anything. It's not their fault.
Right.
They
And
they just been.
it's always, I don't know, it's interesting to me because I did think about it when I was like trying to think about whether I like how scared I was of sharks.
Mhm.
I was like, I feel like I'm more afraid of a shark than like a bear, but I shouldn't be
Oh, yeah,
because
no,
a
I'm afraid
bear
of a bear.
a bear is just as dangerous and I'm more likely to run into it. But and it is just I think like there is a human sense where we're like, oh well, a mammal is closer to me, so I feel some
Yeah.
less fear of
Large
it.
large fuzzy thing, right.
Yeah,
Seems less predatory than big, slick, gray swim mass. Yeah.
Yes, but I'm like, I should not be anymore. I mean,
Well, and it's
I
also
not that I'm
the
not afraid of a bear, but
well, no, right. But it's also the like kind of tying into your fear of like water, dark water. Like there's also this level of like sharks aren't coming up and like vibing. Like, there's the element of it could be there and you don't know it's there.
yes, very
Whereas,
true.
like, if there's a bear, you're gonna see the bear. The shark could be underneath you and you wouldn't know.
Very
Um,
true.
but yeah, no, I don't. I mean, obviously, I don't discredit anyone having fear of this. It seems rational to be afraid of them, but I don't feel that. I think they're just little guys trying to vibe. I certainly like don't want to be bitten by one, but I
Oh,
also
yeah.
like I said, I think being I don't know if being in like the cages counts as provoking them, but I wouldn't be like messing with them. I'd just like to look at them and be like, "Wow, look at you go. That's
Hey,
majestic.
guy.
Way to be
Yeah.
a shark."
I feel like I am fond. I was always like thinking sharks were pretty cool, but like now that I've learned more about them, I'm like, yeah, you go, little buddy. So I hope that if anyone who listens to this episode is or was afraid of sharks, that learning a little bit more has made you feel a little bit fonder and less afraid.
I think education is always our best tool.
It's
I used to
so
be very
true.
afraid of spiders when I was a kid, and then my dad bought me a book all about them, and I was like, "Well, boy howdy, those are neat little fellows."
Right. It's man, and that's isn't that just a lesson for life, Midge? That when you
Yeah.
understand
Wow.
something or someone better, you're not afraid of them anymore.
Yeah, crazy. Wonder what other things we could apply
Hmm.
that to.
Ah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening today. If you enjoyed the podcast, it would mean so much to us if you would take the time to give us a review. You can go ahead and leave one of those on iTunes, or if the podcast app that you listen on doesn't accept reviews, you can also DM one to us on Instagram. And I do believe Midge has a review to share today.
I do. This is a 5-star review from Apple Podcasts from Cassie's Coven. And I do want to just say, Cassie, I might be wrong that she's quote new to the like spooky scene. She may have been around and she's just new to my sphere.
Mhm.
But I have been watching her YouTube channel and she's very fun.
Mhm.
So Cassie's Coven. The perfect mix between girly pop and spooky.
Hey.
I'm assuming that's what it's cut off. It says girly pop and sp, but I'm assuming that says spook.
Spooky. I assume so.
I
Seems safe to
absolutely
assume.
seems safe to assume, yeah. I absolutely love these two humans. They're well, I can't read. They're what? Their tops are always on brand. I think that might be topics.
Topics?
Giving me a boost of spooky vibes. I think it's topics. Their voices are so soothing, and the topics always make me giggle. We'll be coming back for more. Blackheart Bat. Thank you, Cassie.
Thank you, Patsy.
And this is why Midge should read the reviews before she reads them live on the air.
Just a cold read, just
Just
going right in there.
keeping my acting skills up.
Yes.
Gotta just do a cold audition.
All right. Well, thank you again, everyone, for joining us. If we saw you at Midsummer Scream, I hope we looked cute. And that's all I can say about that. We will, of course, have a Midsummer Scream recap coming up, so stay tuned. And if you would like to follow along with the podcast, you can find us on Instagram at Ghouls Night In Pod. And if you'd like to follow me, you can find me at Penny Snark.
And you can find me across the web at Midge Munster.
And until next time,
Good.
goodbye.
Bye.